Hello and welcome into the show, everyone. I am Preston Poole. We've got Teabag here as well for our new show, Unadvised, here on the Sports Animal YouTube, Facebook, and supposed to be Twitter, but we're having issues with the Twitter part of things, getting a live stream going. Thanks, Elon. Really appreciate that. But follow us on Twitter at Preston Poole 405, at Tyler's Takes, at Unadvised Pod as well. Teabag, what is on your mind today?
So to start off, I was telling you a little backstage. I've had quite the day, Preston. So to start off, I woke up like 10 minutes late. Not a big deal. Like 10 minutes is nothing. Woke up 10 minutes late, so that just kind of throws things off. And then everything's good, everything's fine. Then I live on 30th and May here in Oklahoma City. I probably shouldn't say, just exactly where I live or anything.
Yourself, yeah.
But yeah, I live in this vicinity, and I go to a gym on 23rd and Penn. And so I just moved to this house in July. And whenever I moved from the village, I was originally in the village. I lived there for 2 years. Britain was under construction for the last 6 months. So I had to deal with that. Living off Britain Road, under construction, sucked. I moved here, 23rd Street, 7 blocks away from me. It's a pretty frequent street I have to use. It is now under construction. Completely down to one lane on each side, so 2-lane road. It took me, I'm not kidding, 28 minutes to get from Penn to May. 28 minutes. Oof. So that sucked. So then I finally get home from the gym. I went to Walgreens, had to get a couple things. Finally get home, hop in the shower. When I get out of the shower, so the way my room's set up is it's a 2-story house, but I'm halfway up the stairs. That's where my room is. And then there's another half of the stairs, and that's where the other 2 bedrooms are. I was coming down the stairs, and I fell. And I fell hard and bad. At first, I thought I broke everything in my body. The wind got knocked out of me. It was embarrassing. No one was home, luckily, because I was also naked. It was very embarrassing. And now, here, I'm going to have to take off, move my mic and take off my headphones. I'll show you my battle scar I have from this thing. All right, hold on one sec. I guess I'll stay on my headphones.
Oh, man. Oh, brother, that's quite the what do they call it? The raspberry or whatever it is whenever.
Dude, that is a tennis ball on my calf or on my chin right now. And I don't want to know, chat, if anyone in the chat's a doctor, if you guys could let me know. Am I going to die tonight?
That's where we get our medical advice, yes.
Yeah, do I need to be worried about blood clots? I don't have. So my roommates went golfing today, so they took all the ice out the fridge. We don't have anything to ice it on. So I'm just sitting here legitimately playing injured throughout the day. So first show playing injured, so can't say we don't have any grit, foxhole guys around here.
So a month ago or so, I was pushing this tri-tune off the beach. I put my leg up to get onto the boat, slipped, hit my shin directly on the side of the boat. And I was out of commission for 3 weeks. So I think you should be good.
Okay.
As long as you just take care of it. Put some ice on there, elevate it.
That's the problem. I don't have any ice. I should elevate it, though.
Yeah, we do have someone in the chat saying to elevate it.
Okay.
So keep that thing elevated. Get some rest. Maybe have Spinozzi or Curtis, rub it a little bit in the morning, and see where you go from there.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the chat now, and now I'm all this thinking about how I can't elevate it. Because then after this, I'm going to cook dinner and watch Hard Knocks. So
you got plenty of time.
This thing won't be elevated until probably 9 o'clock at least.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. How about we get into some NIL talk, some QR code talk, some Mike Gundy talk here on the show. Teabag is our resident Oklahoma State expert. I'll go ahead and say. So the other day, Mike Gundy comes out and basically says that players need to quit asking for money during the season or leading up to the season, which I don't agree with Mike Gundy on a whole lot of things, but I do agree with him on this. I think there's a time and a place for that stuff. And the time right now is focusing on winning the Big 12 and making the 12-team playoff. It shouldn't be about getting more money into your bank account, especially if you're already making, a couple thousand here and there off NIL deals. So I tend to agree with Mike Gundy on this one. I kind of wanted to get your take since you're a little bit more plugged in there in Stillwater.
I really don't see why people have this issue right now, because it in the NFL, if you do contract negotiations throughout the season, it's not necessarily, I don't want to say different, but it is different because there are general managers, there are people that do that for their specific job. Right now, Oklahoma State doesn't have a general manager. I'm sure eventually it'll
Yeah.
get to the point where they have a general manager. I know OU's already hired one from the Eagles, like an assistant general manager they had. And like, so everyone's there to coach and play ball. And I don't see, like, I can understand the standpoint of, well, easy for someone to say that makes $8 million a year. Yes, I get all that. But at the same time, contract negotiations are up. It doesn't mean they're not going to get paid or anything throughout the season.
Yeah.
It just means that base salary that they get, like I think Ollie Gordon's was, from what I've heard, was anywhere from the $800 to $1 million range, kind of in that ballpark of what he got NIL, kind of from a base salary. Like you're guaranteed, almost like a guaranteed, you're going to get this. And then obviously he's going to get more stuff, from just outside NIL deals, pokes with a purpose, the QR codes going on the back of the helmet now. So they're obviously going to get more money as it goes. But when you're talking just like negotiations for kind of like a base salary,
Yeah.
that I don't know why people have a problem with it. Like every team's different. So if Mike Gundy and his staff want to say, hey, now's the time to play football, especially as a fan, you really shouldn't have a problem with that at all, because you should not be worried about NIL right now. Like if you have a team full of players worried about NIL, now obviously they're going to be thinking about it, and they're going to be thinking about their future. Like I get, it's not just gonna be like, oh, it's in the back of their mind. They don't think about it. But if that's like your number one focus right now, that's not what you want. Because right now, Oklahoma State is a team that's trying to compete for a Big 12 championship and a college football playoff. So yeah, like I don't have any problem with Mike Gundy saying like, hey, we're not focused on that right now. We're focused on football.
Yeah. Any speculation as to who it might be in your mind, if you had to? Not saying that or anything like that, but
No, it could literally be anyone. That's the thing. It could
that
be
is
anyone
true.
from. So you just never know. And another thing too is I think a lot of people just already just like, Mike Gundy's definitely a polarizing figure. And it's like you love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
Now take OU, take your OU and OSU fans out of this, because obviously if you're an OSU fan, you love him. Obviously, an OU fan doesn't mean every OU fan hates him, because I know a lot of OU fans do like Mike Gundy. But like when he's a rival of your coach, obviously you just have that, obviously just that bias towards it. So let's just say out of the 49 other states, I think a lot of coaches or a lot of fans are either like they like Mike Gundy or they don't.
Yeah.
So, and I just think some of those guys just have pre-notions, like no matter what he says, they're going to disagree with. Like if Dion would have said that, half the country, half the people that would have said they don't like it for Mike Gundy probably would have loved it for Dion.
Yeah, and this is something I can definitely see like Saban or Kirby Smart, someone like that coming out and saying as well. Like you're worrying about different other stuff than hey, I need to get a little bit more money in my pocketbook. I mean, join the club, buddy. Everyone's trying to get a little bit more money in their pocketbook. But the thing that they're doing, I guess, and I don't think this is like they were probably going to do this anyways, but this has come out since Mike Gundy has said those things the other day. And OSU will be having QR codes on their helmets this season for fans and I guess people watching, if it shows up on television as well, to scan. I think I heard they're going to be at different places like bars around Stillwater and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
That people can scan to donate, and I'm assuming it's to Oklahoma State's NIL, like
Pokes with a purpose.
Yeah,
the collective.
Yeah, the collective.
Yeah.
For me, don't really care. I don't know how many times, like unless I'm trying to sign into something on the television or something like that, I'm not really scanning QR codes anywhere. But I guess there's like a faction of people out there that are scanning QR codes all the time. But I don't hate it. I mean, I guess it's one way to, get your players out there and, a way for them to get paid.
Yeah. To me, it's one of those things where I think it's a recruiting tactic, just to say, hey, look, we are trying to do everything we can for NIL. I think that's a big part of it, because I mean, I sit in section like 311, like there's not a bad seat in Boone Pickett Stadium because it's not a massive stadium.
But you ain't hitting a QR code on the helmet.
QR code. I can tell you that right now. I can't even get close to a QR code. So it's one of those things where, and also like, I think if they really, really, really were wanting to do this for like money purposes, I think putting it on the and they are trying to do it for money purposes. I'm just saying if that was their number one mission, I think a lot of it has to do for recruiting. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think if it was like mainly like, hey, let's try to get our guys paid as much as we can, put them on the front of the helmets. That was when Ollie Gordon scores a touchdown, he can just go up to the camera and just go like that.
That or it
and
could
then someone
be
could pause
like
the TV or
that, or it could be like in Talladega Nights where Ricky Bobby's driving the car with the Fig Newton thing on the windshield. You could have Ollie Gordon wearing a visor just with the QR code on the visor.
I saw someone had a I don't know if it was in Oklahoma. It might have been in Oklahoma, where they had a bumper sticker on the back of their windshield, and it says, "Is this safe? Absolutely not, but I sure do love Fig Newtons."
Yes,
I want that bumper sticker.
Yeah, that would be absolutely perfect. So yeah, I just think it's Oklahoma State trying to do different things to bolster up their NIL, which who isn't these days trying to do that. But yeah, the QR codes, maybe that's just lost on me. Someone says welcome to 2024 pool. Yeah, I don't know. QR codes just I've never been enticed like walking around town like here's a QR code, scan it and do something with it. But I get it.
No, I will say last year I remember it was the Cincinnati game maybe, and then they started doing it from there on out. But it was the first time I noticed it. They could have been doing it all season. Excuse me. First time I noticed was the Cincinnati game, homecoming this year, on the big jumbotron on Gallagher Iba, like the massive one. During the commercial breaks and stuff, they're putting a QR code to poke up the purpose already. So they've already kind of done the QR code stuff. Now I think they're just trying to take it to the next level and just have it everywhere. And having them at bars is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, you're
like you're telling me
drinks in, and you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm just going to donate.
If OSU's 4-0, just beat Utah, then goes to Kansas State at Manhattan, and then a lot of the students are watching the game at a bar, and somehow win that game. You're telling me a bunch of drunk students aren't going to be like, all right, the boys deserve $5 from each of us.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I mean, that's just one less drink for you that night. I think that they can handle that.
Yeah,
up there. But yeah, that's the NIL talk going on in Stillwater. I did see another thing while I was browsing the internet for topics yesterday and today. And I was kind of dumbfounded by this because maybe I just think more highly of Oklahoma State than what the national people do. But Greg McElroy said he thinks Oklahoma State is a dark horse to win the Big 12. When I'm sitting here thinking, I've got them in the Big 12 championship. I don't know how they're a dark horse to win the Big 12.
No, they're not a dark horse to win the Big 12. What, the third odd-on favorites?
Like that's not a dark horse. I think
dark horse get to go after like kind of like the fourth or fifth. Like for me, the dark horse of the Big 12 is Iowa State.
Yeah,
like that's a team that I think is going to be really good and could definitely, they're returning just as much as OSU is. I think they might be returning one more starter actually. They didn't have as good a season as OSU last year, but they beat Kansas State on their road. They beat OSU. They had some good wins on that schedule. Lost to Memphis in the bowl game, went 7-6, I think. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Iowa State is a good example for the dark horse.
Exactly, yeah.
I even think in Arizona is kind of more in the dark horse than OSU. Now, I think people are more talking about Arizona just because of, Fafita and that wide receiver they have. But so I don't know if they're necessarily the dark horse, but yeah, I mean, you can't say OSU is a dark horse whenever it just really goes to show that it's kind of the national,
They don't get it.
Yeah. And I was listening to, what's funny? Who was it? No, it was Danny Cannell. I was listening to him on the Ryan Russillo pod. Him and Ryan Russillo did a college football preview. And Danny Cannell was talking about how they were talking about, like, who's the third best conference, ACC or Big 12. And they're like, well, probably the ACC just because they have two teams that you could see them winning a national championship in the next year or two, Clemson and Florida State, which I don't – and even throw Miami in there, which I don't agree with. But they're like, if you're talking top to bottom, like which one would you rather – if you had to watch one conference for the whole season of the ACC or Big 12, you probably would rather watch the Big 12 because there's going to be so many close games. It's kind of like pick your poison for who's the third best is. But then Danny Cannell was just talking about how the Big 12 really just – isn't that competitive over the last few years and how Texas and OU has dominated and this, that, the other, and just how there's just a bunch of mediocre teams in there. And I was just kind of jaw dropped listening because one, Texas has dominated what? They've dominated the Big 12.
They haven't dominated anything.
They've won it once in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And then since 2020, OU, Iowa State, OSU, Baylor, Kansas State, TCU, and Texas, 7 teams since 2020 have made the conference championship. A new team. OSU is the only team to make it twice since 2020.
Yeah.
So don't tell me it's not a competitive, balanced league, Danny. He's always a clown too. He was a clown during the College World Series with OU softball, saying it's a home field advantage. He's an idiot.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And
that's my little rant. I had to go on a rant about that because I heard that. I was like, what? Like, you don't know what you're talking. Texas dominated what?
I do think that the Big 12 is the third best conference is what they were saying, or fourth best.
They're debating Big 12 or ACC.
I think the Big 12 is better than.
I would say top to bottom for sure.
Yeah.
The only thing the ACC has with the Big 12, which is a very fair argument, is they have 2, possibly 3 teams you can see winning a national championship within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Miami, Clemson, Florida State. So that is a fair argument.
I won't believe in Miami ever.
No, me either.
Until they start cheating somehow. Then I'll believe in Miami.
They got to get back on cocaine and hookers back like they were in the 80s. Yes. Back to their roots.
Yeah. While we are on Oklahoma State still, we're going to get into Oklahoma here in just a second. But while we are on Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon. Last week we did a pilot episode. No one really saw it. You were freaking out about Ollie Gordon the whole entire hour that we did. So give us an update on Ollie Gordon.
Twitter rumors are a crazy thing, Preston.
Very crazy, yes.
And it is funny. Ollie Gordon is okay. I'm sure everyone's heard by now. it sounds like just a bruised hip. Hell, my injury I got today is probably way worse than what he got. Now, granted, he's a lot tougher than I am, and that's probably. He can play on this thing. I'm playing right now, but it is funny how in college football and NFL, just obviously the NFL is just the gap is major,
massive,
the two. Major. But it's just funny how a player can bruise a hip and somehow, some way, someone got information that he got hurt because he did get beat up and he got pulled from practice. That did happen. That's been confirmed by Scott Wright on the Morning Animal saying yeah, he's fine. He's going to play. He's practicing again. But yes, they pulled him for the rest of that day. They're like, oh, you're done for the day. We're good. It is funny how someone is able to figure that out, put it on a burner account with 30 followers on Twitter. Oklahoma State Twitter gets a hold of it, and then all of a sudden it turns into Ollie's torn his ACL and this, that, the other. It's
never any in between either.
It's just crazy, just how in college football, and I guess it's the small town aspect and the, I think I was telling you last week when we were doing this, it's one of those things where OSU practices, it's right across the street from the stadium. It's literally Boone Pickens Stadium, Hall of Fame, the road, Sherman Smith practice facility. So the players cross the street every day to go to practice. You would run across the players every single day as they're going to practice. And then traffic has to stop for them and stuff. So if someone does get hurt, they see them getting carted back to the stadium. So if I was betting, I bet that's what happened. Was Ollie was on a cart, or limping or something, back over to the stadium with a doctor or with a trainer, and someone just took that and absolutely ran. But it's college football Twitter, man. It is.
It's a great, and it reminds me of for probably 2015, whenever Joe Mixon was playing at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
It was right before Bedlam, and someone, I think maybe in Stillwater or someone started a rumor that he broke his leg and his arm the week of Bedlam, and everyone was going crazy.
I remember that.
Obviously that didn't happen. He was okay, but it's just stuff like that I'm like, man, Twitter and social media is a very powerful place, but there are definitely some idiots.
We could go on and on, because I know me and you are both heavily active in Twitter, and we shouldn't spend on and on about it, but we could go on and on about. We should do an episode one day of just Twitter. It is just funny too how these burner accounts, they're anonymous. No one knows who they are. They will get so offended and stuff. It's triggered. If you call them out for something, one of the guys that broke the news, I forgot what his name is, but he's an anonymous account, and people were tweeting at him like, "Dude, are you serious? Like, why didn't he?" He was like defending him, like seriously butthurt. It's
I'm
like,
just giving out the
dude,
information I was given from my
yes,
source.
it's like, dude, you're anonymous. No one knows who you are. You could easily just avoid this and go. Like, it's Twitter. Like, people take Twitter so seriously sometimes, and it's just
and most of the time their
it makes
source
me
is
mad.
trusted, bro.
I shouldn't get mad about how serious people take Twitter because I don't take it serious at all. But I guess the one thing I take it serious on Twitter is how like real world people take that stupid little app. Yeah. Nothing in there is it's a hellscape, but we should probably move on from that topic.
Yes, so we will move on now to Oklahoma. ESPN did kind of like I guess it was really Heather Dinich that did it. Did like a preview of like, you know, who she had in the playoffs, you know, first four teams out, next four teams out. We're getting very much like college basketball when it comes to this thing. First four out, next four out. But Oklahoma was in her first four out for the college football playoff, the first 12-team college football playoff. And I sit and I look at that and I'm like, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you got to be happy with, you know, being, what would they be, top 15 after the schedule that they have?
That's a 9-3, maybe 8-4 season.
Yeah.
You take that. That means you're going into LSU with a win and get in the playoff. And I think any OU fan will take that scenario.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's great. And someone asked who makes it from the group of five. I would probably say, like, are they even the group of five anymore? Or are they just like the outsiders club at this point? But I would probably put like Boise State would be up at the top of my list for that.
A lot of people have been saying Liberty, but Liberty doesn't play one Power 5 team.
Yeah.
And them getting absolutely demolished against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl last year, I think that's gonna knock them down. For example, like if Liberty goes 12-0, 13-0, I don't know if they have a conference championship game or not. I'm sure they do. So let's say they go 13-0, but then Memphis goes 11-2 in the American. I think Memphis, no doubt, even with two more losses, and Liberty will get in just because Liberty has played one Power 5 team in the last two seasons and lost. What was the final score that game? 56-7 or something. It was they got demolished. It wasn't even close from the start. So I think that's going to hurt Liberty. But I've seen a lot of people say Liberty.
So here's the rankings that they have for the group of five here. So Boise State 1, UTSA 2, which I forget about them.
Yeah, they've had a good program.
Appalachian State 3, they've got a good program there. Liberty, and then Miami, Ohio. So those are five teams that from the group of five could.
I'll take App State. I'll take App State.
Yeah,
if I had to pick from one of those.
And it's just like they're like. Again, I have a dumb brain, and it's like their stadium and like the surrounding parts of that just looks so awesome. Where I'm like, cool. They have to win. I mean, that has to boost like their win percentage by like, I don't know, 5% or something like that. But that's just because I'm an idiot and think that way. If you're curious, Oklahoma State is in the next four out, so that would probably put them around 20-ish.
That's not in there. That's a 9-3 regular season probably.
Yeah,
for them.
Which of course, if they win the Big 12, they're in. No matter what. So which I think that's very much still in play for the Cowboys. Another thing which I kind of had forgot about this, but Oklahoma is bringing it back this season to the SEC, and I think it's something that they probably need to because it gives the crowd a little bit of a rougher, tougher feeling. And I know the crowd in Norman's rather old these days, having gone to the games for a long time, but they are bringing the "we're going to beat the hell out of you" chant back to football games right in time for the SEC.
They need to. I mean, it's one of those. I always sound like a hater when I say something negative about OU, and I'm really not trying to be when I say this. OU has like 2 or 3 songs that they consistently play, and one of them is Boomer Sooner.
Yeah.
And they just need to get something to where there's a chant involved because none of their songs, out of the end of Boomer Sooner with a Sooner Board, Sooner Bread, there's like a little chant there, but it's not like everyone screams it. Like most schools, I feel like have a song that they chant. Like OSU does a "Hey" song.
Yeah.
That's not one of their main ones. It's more of a basketball game song for OSU too than anything. But the OU needs a song to where the band gets the fans really involved.
Yeah.
Because
like neck at LSU.
Yeah,
Something
because
like
Boomer
obviously
Sooners
not that
then
far, but yeah, something like that.
what's the song? It's like dun 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 dun. I think that's a song. I don't know what it's
Yeah,
called,
I think
but
that
they
might
play
be
that.
yeah.
Then obviously Oklahoma, and then I knew that dun 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 dun. Oh, you like I know
Yeah.
that one, but like you need to add on to that going into the SEC and trying to get that crowd riled up.
We're
And
gonna beat
OU's
the hell out of
great
you is perfect.
because whenever OSU does after the we're going to beat the hell out of you, they do the they do like the band chants and the fans chant back. Like the OU pointing and saying you like that's hard. That's hard. Like that needs to come in. Like that needs to happen. So I'm glad they're doing that. I'm glad they're doing that because
And for
OU's
those
got
out
to do a
there,
lot of things for the SEC to get
yes, I
that crowd
remember a
rolling.
couple years ago when the song "Turn Down for What" was very popular. They played, they had it on like the big board said "the third down for what," and at that point I was like, we might have lost them, boys.
I think
We might have
OSU did that
lost.
once too. Yeah.
It's like that's a little too much for me. And going on about the song, I know the backstory of the artist and all that. We're not going to get into it because
Separate
it's
art from artist.
yes, it's just a song. It's just a
Yep.
song. All right, moving on to we got two more college football topics, and we'll get into some NFL. Miller Moss, Malachi Nelson named starting quarterbacks at USC and Boise State.
No, Malachi Nelson's not named the starter.
He's not okay.
He's
I thought I had seen some stuff to where he was in a battle with the other guy, and I forget his name.
They announced. I need to see his name. He doesn't look like a quarterback.
So Miller Moss will be the starting quarterback at USC, and conveniently enough, you have USC people tweeting out a lot of Oklahoma accomplishments and other stuff that is kind of, I think, gross for other programs to piggyback off other programs' success and their players' success. So that happened today.
You see the Annie Hand, yeah.
That's what I'm referring. Yeah, I just couldn't remember her name for the life.
I saw that and I literally said, "Oh boy!" And I knew the second I pressed it on that, I was like, I knew people were going to comment, and sure enough, people were like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yep." Like how this is OU should troll one day, like on an April Fool's. Now they would because people wouldn't take it as a troll, but I think some people would find it. OU needs to troll one day and just put out like Isaiah Simmons, Dominic Wilton. It's like all these Clemson studs that have gone through, and then just put like Danny Stutzman at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like one OU player.
Exactly.
Because that's literally what it is. It's like, yes, Brent Venables coached him. Yeah, like those are his guys. They didn't play at OU. Baker didn't play at USC. Baker probably wants nothing to do with USC. I know Baker and Lincoln are close because of like and I get that. Like, I get the players still like Lincoln because the players aren't fans and they actually have real personal relationships with him. But I guarantee you, Baker's like, why the hell am I getting involved with USC? Jalen Hurts, he's like, what? I played at Alabama and OU. Like, what USC? But that quarterback's name for Boise State, Maddox Matson. So yes, he's beat out Malachi Nelson. So
number 1 5-star player, number 1 quarterback in the country. 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, was committed to Oklahoma at one point when Lincoln Riley was still the head coach. Transferred to his commitment, I guess, or decommitted and committed to USC, and then transferred to Boise State during the offseason this season, and is going to be sitting, it looks like, for at least this season or just a couple of games. Who knows? I'm sure he'll get some run there.
Lincoln may not be the quarterback guru that. I mean, I think he's still going to have quarterbacks. Like, if I had a bet over under like 0.5 on Lincoln Riley having another Heisman winner, I'm taking the over because I think he is very talented on offensive stuff. But I think when it comes to evaluating high school talent, I think maybe he may not be the best because you have to remember he picked Brock Vandergriff over Caleb Williams. The only reason Caleb Williams committed is because he told Lincoln Riley, he's like, I will walk on to this program. Like, I want to play for OU and Lincoln Riley. Like, I will walk on. And then Brock Vandergriff then decommitted because he's like, okay, I'm not better than Caleb. Even Brock Vandergriff's like, I'm not better than this guy. So, yeah, Lincoln did pick Brock Vandergriff over one point at Caleb Williams.
So this just popped into my head. Does he have a Heisman-winning quarterback or an NFL MVP next? Like, what do you think happens before the other? Because I don't think he's going to be at USC too much longer. You think a Heisman?
Just because now, if he's an offensive coordinator, because I don't think he's going to get hired as an NFL coach anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking head coach, but I'm talking like more so coordinator in the NFL.
Okay, yeah, he's in charge of the quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd probably lean MVP then.
That's kind of the direction I was going, because I think he's got a year or two left at USC before they fire him or they move on, whatever you want to call it.
I think they're going to be decent this year, because I think USC fans this year are I think they have like more tamed expectations, and I think if they pull off an 8-4, 9-3, which they could very much do. I mean, it's not like Lincoln Riley. He's not a coach. I don't think that can lead a team to a national championship. But it's not like he's a bad coach. Like he was at one point one play away from playing for a national championship. He did, win 3 Heisman quarterbacks. He did, turn Jalen Hurts' career around. It's not like he's a bad football coach.
No, yeah, I mean, he made Jalen Hurts an NFL quarterback.
I think they're gonna be better than what people think this year. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're I don't think they're gonna be competing for the playoff in week 11. But I think they can go 9-3, 8-4, which will save his job for another 2 years.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I was just looking at something on Twitter. But all right, so our last topic, and we kind of did this sort of on the radio Saturday. But I thought it was a little interesting game to play. So you're given an unlimited budget. You can go to any game you want in the country throughout the whole entire college football season. You get to pick one game to go to. Last week on the radio, we did just week 1. Today, we're going to do any game throughout the season, across the country in college football. You get to pick one game to go to. Budget isn't a thing. Travel wherever you want to. Teabag, what game are you going to?
So I'm going to go with the Pander pick here, because I was genuinely going through it. And Preston, I'm not going to give out your answer, but your answer was like kind of my first thought, because I've always wanted to go to that place. We can talk about it in a second, but thought about that. Thought about maybe an Ohio State, Michigan in the shoe, because I think Ohio State fans are going to be chomping at the bit this year, and I think that'd be an unreal environment. And there's a lot of good selections, especially these big matchups now. Georgia at Texas, I think, be a fun one. But I've never been to one game that I think a lot of the state's been to, and that's the Cotton Bowl. OU, Texas. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. And I'll get there one day. But this year would be like the perfect year to go for your first time, because first OU, Texas in the SEC, 2:30 kickoff, gonna be an unreal environment. OU and Texas, I think Texas will go in there 5-0. I think OU has a chance to go in there 5-0. I would probably say 4-1 right now. So that's still going to be a top 15 matchup. Playoffs are still going to be everything on the line right there, and it's always just a close, intense game, no matter who's good and no matter who's bad. I mean, since 2006, since the Vince Young blew out OU in. Because I know OU blew them out in 2004, I think, and then Vince Young blew out OU in 2005. And since then, other than I think it was 2011 and 2012, OU blew out Texas. And obviously, the Davis Bevel game. Those are the only 3 I can think of that have been bigger than a 10-point game. And those are it's either a massive blowout or it's the covers getting spread by the underdog.
Like in COVID, we got like the first overtime game in the series like history or something like that, which is insane to think. But yeah, there's been some great games, and I think you could have just stopped right after you said first Cotton Bowl in the SEC.
Yeah,
that's all you need to say about this game. That's what makes it as big as it's going to be. It's going to be the first OU Texas in the SEC. You're going to see that SEC logo on the field. Both teams are going to have that SEC logo on them. Like you said, it's going to be a top 15 matchup, no matter. And I'm the more I think about it, the more I tend to think that OU drops that one at home against Tennessee.
I think they beat Tennessee. I think Auburn's the one.
Really?
Like, I've been to that stadium, man, and it was for the Iron Bowl, so I get that's 20 times
different
amplified. Yeah. But that I am not exaggerating when I say you could feel the vibration from your feet all the way up until like your chest. Yeah. It was unreal, and I think OU's gonna beat Tennessee, and then just kind of have like that big celebration, because they're college kids, like it happened for OSU at Bedlam last year, or after Bedlam last year. Now I think that one's a lot more, emotional than an OU Tennessee is, especially the last one, and everything that went into it. But I think OU's gonna beat Tennessee, and then just they're kind of maybe get a little distracted that week of practice, and then Auburn. I think they're gonna be a competitive team. I think they're an 8-4, 7-5 team, so a decent team that is definitely capable of beating OU. And I think it's gonna be one of those things where Auburn's gonna be wanting to go in there and just kick the ever living what out of OU, and OU might just have their heads turned a little because next week is Texas. It's kind of that awkward game in the middle. So I think that's the one. I think that's the one OU's gonna drop before you, Texas.
I could definitely see that happening as well. The game that I am going to pick here in this segment is the Ohio State at Oregon matchup, because I think that's going to be one of the best games all season. That's going to be a top 5 matchup. I know that's sometime in like the end of October. Hell, it might be the same day as OU Texas. I can't remember. I know it's in that area. Which, if that's the same day as OU Texas, that's going to be an incredible day for college football. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be the same day as OU Texas. Hopefully, that's a night game. That way, you can watch OU Texas and go straight into.
It'll be big. It probably will. It probably will be a night game because it won't be big noon kickoff because it's 9 a.m. out in Oregon.
That's true.
Texas already set for 2:30, so I bet that will be a night game.
That will be that'll be a perfect day. Hopefully we can get a good game at like 11 a.m. to move right in. Just have 3 straight great games in a row. But I picked that one because, like I said, it's going to be a top 5 matchup between those teams. I think Oregon at home. I've always wanted to go out there and see that stadium, see, kind of what that area looks like, nature-wise and stuff like that, I guess you could say. But, I just think that's going to be one of the best games of the whole entire season.
Like I was saying earlier, that was the one where I was like, really debating between that one and OU Texas. Everyone that's been to Autzen Stadium, we have family friends that lived in Portland for years and years, and they went to Autzen Stadium a few times. And I know a lot of people that have been there, that even just our family friends, will tell you it's the loudest stadium in the country with the way that it's built with the acoustics. It's not like you could have half the stadium screaming and it's still just unbearably loud just because of the way it's built. October 12th, real quick press before we move on. OU Texas, Ohio State Oregon, Ole Miss LSU, Penn State USC, Florida Tennessee. And
now is that really Penn State USC? Is Penn State USC in Penn State or at Penn State? Excuse me.
It's at USC.
Oh,
schedule is going to be a conflict that day.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect 11 a.m. game in Happy Valley to move into the Red River and then to that Ohio State Oregon game.
What if they just do like a 9 a.m. Ohio State Oregon?
that would be Fox's like biggest mess up, and they've had a few when it comes to college football.
I don't know how they're going to schedule this because Penn State, USC, and Ohio State Oregon are both.
A couple of those games are going to be on at the same time.
Yeah. Ole Miss, LSU's it's because
I bet that'll be a 2:30 or the
Ole
6 o'clock SEC game.
It's already scheduled at between 6 or 8 p.m. Eastern, so 5 to 7 Eastern.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a Saturday.
And OSU has a bye week too, so I just get to sit back, relax, and not worry about a dang thing.
Maybe we can get. I haven't been to the Cotton Bowl either, so maybe we can get the boss to take us down there. For the weekend. I doubt.
I'm sure that we can ask, but I think we know where that conversation will end up.
Yes, but that would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. All right, so now let's move on to some NFL news. This one is heavy on my heart, and that is my boy Justin Herbert back at practice. He's looking healthy now, finally, after the plantar fasciitis stuff he was dealing with in his foot. Made some decent throws today, so the kid is back and he's slinging the rock again for the Chargers.
Congrats, Preston. I know that's big. Trust tree here, circle of trust. I thought he was practicing like 2 weeks ago.
No,
I knew he was hurt.
Yeah,
I thought he's been back. So
no, I think yesterday or today was his first day back. So he's back practicing, and I love it. I need some more videos of him throwing footballs to get me through the next 2 weeks till the NFL season starts.
Beautiful spiral.
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, look, you don't have to tell me, dude. I'll sit there and I'll watch that all day. Another quarterback, obviously, we're going to talk about a lot on this show. And this is so I have a Word document set up to where Teabag and I can both go in and put topics in that we want to talk about. and this just says Caleb Williams is the best ever, and that's all the topic is. So tell me why Caleb Williams is the best ever.
So I'm gonna actually not be, my Teabag Bears fan here. Think about Chicago, the sports town. It's an unreal sports town. It's top 3 in America. New York, Boston, Chicago. I'd say when you talk,
they just don't win a lot. Would be the only thing I would say. Which I guess neither does New York either.
New York doesn't win at all anymore. But fandoms and stuff, and big teams, big brands. But when you think about it, Chicago has not had a star. Think about it. LA has stars everywhere. New York has stars. Well, they did. Aaron Rodgers, but they've had their fair share of stars in the last few years. Boston has obviously had some big time stars over the last few years. Chicago hasn't had a star in.
I'm trying to think.
Patrick Kane for hockey.
Yeah, that would probably be the last big one. Yeah.
That's the fourth.
Maybe like sport. Rizzo or Chris
he was
Bryant.
There long, yeah, and they weren't there long enough too.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like they never really got to amplify themselves. Caleb Williams has a chance, even if he's not the best quarterback in the league, even if he's not as long as he's a top 5 consistent quarterback in the league, with that Chicago brand, with what it would mean to the Bears. He has a chance for it to be Michael Jordan, Caleb Williams. I'm not exaggerating. If he wins one Super Bowl, because in Chicago, because I listen to Chicago sports talk radio. It's like one of the weird things I do. Like I listen obviously to the sports animal a lot of times. So if I'm just like at home cooking or something, I'll put on Chicago sports talk radio. And it's really more during football season.
Yeah.
I don't listen to a whole lot, during, the bowl season or something. But what I do know about Chicago is I know a lot about Chicago sports, even though I'm only a Bears fan, but I follow kind of along with all the sports. And I think it's probably this way in a lot of cities. Baseball teams are split. Cubs are the bigger brand, obviously, but the baseball teams are split. Not everyone's a Cubs fan, not everyone's a White Sox fan. It's one of the two. What they always say, too, is the winter sports are split. Now, they're all Bulls fans and they're all Blackhawks fans, but there's 82 hockey games and 82 basketball games.
Yeah,
that's split, because you can't watch it all. So you have to be a bigger fan of one of the other. Bears is like the one really big common ground that they have. And if Caleb, with what he did on Saturday, I yelped. I put it on Twitter. You can go look at it. I literally had it. Was like, I should tweet this out.
Yeah, during the show. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
He's a big Bears fan, and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, dude, you should have heard my reaction. So I went and pulled it to send it to him. I was like, I'll throw this on Twitter real quick. And it was a legit, genuine reaction because I always wanted to see Mitch Trubisky do that. I always want to see Justin Fields did it. And when we see him make those plays in the preseason, like, oh, there we go. Oh, look at this. But never did I see my quarterback roll out, throw off his back foot 40-something yards downfield, perfectly into the pocket to his other rookie wide receiver, who's a stud. And then the next play or 2 plays later, barely misses Rome again in the end zone off a great play. Rome was barely out of bounds. Just a great play by Caleb. Then after that, scrambles around, runs it in for a touchdown. The Bears have never seen that. And
Kyle Orton wasn't doing that stuff,
Justin Fields would make great plays with his legs, and that's about it. Then you see a guy wide open, 25 yards downfield, like throw it. Throw it. He gets sacked, or he'd have to run. So the potential Caleb Williams has right now is, and it's Homer for me to say. I'm not denying this isn't as Homer can get. Whenever I'm saying,
look, we can be homers about NFL, and we don't have an NFL team around here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be a homer on this. Caleb Williams I'll just leave it at this. He has potential to be
he's different,
mega star in sports because the Chicago market is insane, and they're craving.
I would say they absolutely want that to happen. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And like I said before the show started, if Justin Herbert and Caleb Williams have a great season this year, people are just gonna say this show is unbearable because all these two idiots talk about are their quarterbacks.
Yeah, people won't like it.
Other news in the NFL, nothing has changed in the Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams front for the 49ers, which is kind of amazing to me because I figured they would have dealt Ayuk already and signed Williams to a deal. So nothing's happened there, which we're 2 weeks out from the season and nothing.
Yeah. For me, I think we talked about this on Saturday. For me, it's Brandon Ayuk. You could probably live without him. Now, I think it hurts your odds, to win Super Bowl.
I think they miss him a little bit. Yeah,
it wouldn't shock me if they won a Super Bowl or got back to the Super Bowl without Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah,
without Trent Williams, though, that changes things big time because he is still the best left tackle in football. Their offensive line it's a good offensive line, but there are a lot better offensive lines in the league. But Trent Williams makes that offensive line from a mediocre offensive line to a good offensive line.
No, I mean, it would.
And so I'm just shocked they haven't gotten that done.
If you're Brock Purdy, you're walking in every day saying, "Hey, dude, let's get this guy signed right now."
Yeah, because Brock Purdy's also like, I cannot get hurt because I'm trying to get a payday here soon. So yeah, I'm surprised they haven't gotten anything done when it comes to Trent Williams.
I agree. Here's a take. Obviously, I've had for a while now. I think Russell Wilson is a bum. I don't like him at quarterback anymore. Look, he was good back during his heyday in Seattle. He just hasn't been good. Or up to that par, I guess you could say, in the last couple of years in Denver. And I get that whole thing up there in Denver it didn't work out. I get it, but he moves on to Pittsburgh and didn't really have that great of a showing in the preseason game the other day, and Justin Fields didn't either, for that matter. But how long do you think it takes for them to switch from Russell Wilson to Justin Fields as the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh?
I think they should just do it because
I do too, but I think it's probably going to take them halfway through the season.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think Russell Wilson's going to be the starter, and I think by the time they throw Justin Fields into the fire, it's going to be too little, too late. Their back half of the schedule is unreal. I think they play all teams that are projected to make the playoffs or were in the playoffs last year is probably a better way to put it. In their last 7 or 8 games. And Russell Wilson's never really been known to be a good teammate. He's
doing jumping jacks on the airplane at 3 in the morning.
While they're flying to Europe to play a game. You have to go through his agent to contact him. I don't know if it's still that way since that story's been up, but that's how it was when he was in Seattle. All the players and coaches seemed like they were glad when their star quarterback was gone. Like they were additions by major subtraction.
Yeah.
And with the Steelers, it's why not give Justin Fields the chance? Russell Wilson, he's older. Fields is still young.
And I think Russ is on a 1-year deal. So
yeah, I mean Fields technically is too because he has 1 year deal left on his deal too.
Yeah.
But the potential is there with Fields. I mean, I think Justin Fields is what he is at this point. I think the Bears did play a part in kind of ruining him. But that was under a different administration. If you're going to be oh, what about Caleb Williams? Different. You can't compare the two. You really can't. Yeah. By the time Fields actually had a good, competent team, it was kind of he is what he is.
Yeah.
He can't find the wide open guys. He can't stay in the pocket. He's a run first quarterback. It feels like a lot of the times. But I do think he is a good quarterback that, I think he's in the, 16, 17 range, which, if you have a good team, which the Steelers usually do, that can get you to the playoffs. But at the same time, the Steelers just kind of feel like they're in purgatory. So,
yeah, no, I completely agree. And we just got a couple more topics here in the NFL, but we're really just one more. But before we got to that, one of our guys in the chat says, "Are you surprised my Cowboys aren't any closer to a deal with either CD or Dak?" 100%. I think all this is probably on Jerry Jones, trying to be like a penny pincher and save as much money as possible. When you need to sign CD Lamb as soon as possible. Dak Prescott, I think you could probably wait on that because he still has a deal for this year. He's not going anywhere. There's no other team that's going to be like, yeah, we want Dak Prescott as our starting quarterback. I mean, there might be a couple, but it's not like he's this massive get for a bunch of teams. So I think he's still going to be the quarterback in Dallas. But I think the biggest priority right now is getting CeeDee Lamb signed to a massive deal and making him happy because he is a top 5, if not, top 3 or number 1 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, the CD Lamb just completely shocks me. I don't know how they haven't got that done. Dak Prescott's one thing. You got to sign CD Lamb though. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you doing?
No, 100%. All right. So this last topic I have, and I don't know if this is, I guess it is kind of NFL, but it's also Olympics / flag football. And this is exactly how I put it. 5'7", so he's 5'7", USA flag football quarterback Daryl Doucette says it's disrespectful to think NFL players could play flag football in the Olympics in 2028. Sir, and look, height, who cares? But you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Joe Burrow. Them are some 6'5" dudes. You got receivers that are just the same height, if not maybe a little bit taller, a little bit faster. Sir, I think NFL players can play flag football in the Olympics. Plus,
Yeah,
that's like the perfect time where they're in camp, but I mean, it's flag football. They're not going to be getting tackled, so really, they're just going to be out there playing, essentially 7-on-7, which I don't think it's 7, but whatever number it is.
I feel bad for him to the degree of like he's been growing flag football all this time.
Yeah.
And they finally get into the Olympics, and he's just going to get taken over by NFL guys. But at the same time, it's like, what do you think was going to happen? I don't really have a problem with him saying it, just because he has.
I don't either, but it's also like, dude, come on.
For sure.
It's like if the call, like back when they didn't have professionals playing in basketball, and like the U.S. was starting to lose, and a college basketball player is like, yeah, I don't think it's right that professional basketball players should be in the Olympics. Like, no, dude, we're trying to win gold medals here. So we're going to do whatever it takes to win a gold medal. And if that means that we have to put NFL players into flag football, then we're absolutely going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we got beat by like Austria in tackle football today, and or not today, but this year in like the under 20s. Like, we got to do something. You can't be losing to Austria and American football.
We cannot lose in football.
Yeah,
even if it's flag, we cannot.
Like you can't lose in basketball, but you damn sure can't lose in American tackle football. Like that is our sport.
The funniest, I've always said the funniest thing that could ever happen in sports would be America winning the World Cup, because of how bad it would make other people.
Oh, they was so mad.
I guarantee you all the other countries in the world are thinking the funniest thing that could ever happen is America not winning gold in flag football.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and I guarantee you Mexico's probably going to have a good squad, because I know there's a lot of people down there that like football. Canada, obviously they
England has a little program that they do.
So. Yeah, and of course, NFL expanding over there to, a bunch of games in London. So yeah, there's going to be some decent squads. So, we need to get our best out there. And I mean, that's what the Olympics is about, putting your best athletes out there to compete against the world's best athletes. So why would we not do that for football?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, one final thing to get into. We got a couple minutes left here on the show. We'll get into a little NBA as our lovely darling Chet Holmgren goes on Podcast P's podcast. I think it's literally called that, folks. Paul George's podcast. He goes on there. He praises the Oklahoma City crowd for the, during the season playoffs, stuff like that. But he does say that the in-season pregame playlist needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, we can. I mean, he can fix that, can't he?
And as someone who is sitting in the control room back at the radio station, has a live feed to the arena before games, I can confirm it does need work. So I am with Chet on this, that you need to get some different songs played there to hype the guys up. But he said that, and then he said Shea should have been MVP, and Paul George agreed with him, which I think a lot of people agree as well, that Shea probably deserved the MVP. Didn't go his way, but I'm fairly confident that he'll probably get one here in the near future.
Yeah, he'll get one within the next 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
I mean, with the way he's playing right now, with the Thunder trajectory, I think he's going to get one this year or the next.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely the next 3 years for sure. I would put that. And then the other NBA news I have here is the Finals MVP Jaylen Brown has started doing underwater workouts. Are you hip to the underwater workout scene?
Yes. Is that like with that like little treadmill and stuff?
It wasn't a treadmill. It was he literally had a dumbbell in one hand and a basketball in the other, and he was submerged underwater, and it was probably like a 10-foot pool or something like that. that he was completely like submerged with the basketball and like a 10-15 pound dumbbell, I think, something like that, and he was just like underwater.
Was he carrying the basketball with his left hand because he needs to work on his left hand game?
Yes, he was actually.
Okay,
He was.
well, good for
Yes.
Jaylen Brown.
If I saw
Finals
that,
MVP can't shoot with his left hand.
I saw
goes to
that,
show
and
good
I'm
he
like,
is, so.
if that's what it takes to be like an athlete, like a professional athlete at their level, like no wonder I didn't make it, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not getting in the water. Like he did have like a mask on that I think he could like get oxygen and stuff down there, but
he was full on
underwater.
I thought
like
it was like waist down.
no, like fully submerged in the water. Had a
I gotta go
dumbbell
check
and a
this out after
basketball.
this.
And I was just like, what is going on here, man? And yeah, like I said, like if that's what it takes to be a professional athlete, like no wonder I'm sitting here talking about this stuff and not out doing it, because that is just completely off my radar.
Yeah, I've always said this about being a professional athlete. Other than the fact I'm a 5'10", semi-athletic white guy, one of the
Yeah.
reasons I'd never be a professional athlete is just because, like Caleb Williams, for example, $25.5 million signing bonus. I'd be like, I'm rich, I'm good, I don't need to do anything anymore, because I could easily live off that the rest of my life and go do what I want.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's not $200 million like some of these, like you could get, but my drive would definitely be lowered after that.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of
look,
the many reasons I don't think I'd ever be a professional athlete, because my mindset is just is different. And
I completely agree with you. 100%. There's no shame in that game at all. All right, well, that's going to do it for our first episode here of Unadvised. I'm going to pop this up here. If you have any questions, you can email us unadvisedpod@gmail.com. We can do mailbag segments, whatever kind of questions you got, whatever you want us to talk about, we can do that. So that we've made an email there. You can follow us at Unadvised Pod on Twitter as well. We both interact on that. So you can find us there. Obviously at Tyler's Take for Teabag, at Preston Pool 405 for myself. Football season is getting close, and we're going to be doing a lot more content for you guys. We'll be live Tuesday and Thursday nights until the Thunder season. I will say that things will get a little bit, different during the Thunder season, because the Thunder will be playing, and I'll be up at the station working. But we'll still hopefully plan on doing 2 live shows per week during that time. And then Sundays after the afternoon games, so probably around like 5:30, 6 o'clock, we'll go live. We'll talk about the action from that Sunday. A little fantasy football implications as well. Yeah, and if you want to send us fantasy football questions, we can totally answer those as well. Unadvisedpod@gmail, or you can slide into our DMs on Twitter as well. But our plan is to bring you guys a lot of content here over football season and going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited that we're doing this. Yeah, just like Preston said, make sure to follow us, interact with us. Like we're active on social media and stuff. So yeah, I mean, get excited, because this is going to be fun, especially that football season. And you guys just better pray that Caleb Williams is not good at football. You guys better pray, because you guys will hate me.
Sundays this fall should be very entertaining here on the Sports Animal YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Like the video, share the video with your family, your friends, maybe not your kids, but your kids could probably listen. We'll tone it down here and there. I can't promise.
Can we cuss on this in the future?
I think we can, but we might need to get that cleared with the boss. Some
There's
words
no FCC involved here.
Yeah, some words might be a little
too far.
different.
Some are too far, but a little,
but
I think harder than crap. Might be.
Yeah, look, we're a little loose here. We can have a little bit more fun here on the live stream. So that's our plan. Hopefully we'll get the Twitter live stream fixed as well, so you can watch us on another place. But until Thursday, that's going to do it for us. Have a great night, everyone.